Chris's joke was received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. There. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Let's talk about that moment. You already know the one, the Oscars night that instantly joined pop culture history. Right up there with Kanye interrupting Taylor Swift. Chris Rock cracked a joke. The audience laughed. Even Will Smith laughed. But then came the look. Jada's expression so sharp it could cut glass, and in that split second, everything shifted. What followed wasn't just a bad joke gone wrong. It became a live demonstration of how fear, image, and public opinion rule Hollywood today. Before that stare, Will was relaxed, laughing, casual, just being himself. Then, it was like watching someone's free will short circuit on stage. One moment he's smiling at a punchline, the next he's striding up to slap the comedian who said it. That wasn't bravery, and it definitely wasn't gallantry. It was pressure. The kind that comes from a culture where everyone's terrified of being seen as anything less than perfectly acceptable. When Bill Maher later revisited the infamous slap, he zeroed in on that exact point. Will didn't just damage his own reputation, he struck at something bigger, the freedom to laugh without fear. Maher said what so many were hesitant to admit. Comedy itself is under attack. When jokes start getting treated like crimes, laughter starts to disappear.
Now, I know we're all sick of talking about the slap, but I'm sorry, one more thing needs to be said. Comedians have been under attack for quite some time, and I need to stick up for my tribe. This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to it.
Maher's critique of that Oscar moment was scathing and funny at the same time. Most people would have missed the point he made. In his humor, Chris Rock didn't say anything offensive about Jada's alopecia. It was a classic. This reminds me of that setup. He mentioned Demi Moore's buzz cut from the 1990s movie G.I. Jane when he said Jada is very excited for G.I. Jane 2. That's all. That's the joke. Nothing sinister or offensive, just a visual connection. However, in today's hypersensitive world, that nuance is no longer important.
Now, at the Oscars, Chris Rock came out to present a boring award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs doing what we comics call crowd work. Denzel and Javier Bardem each got spritzed. And then Chris made what in the business is known as a "some shit is like some other shit" joke. He said to Jada Smith, "Jada can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, recalling the late 90s movie starring Demi Moore. That's it. That's the joke. You remind me of some other beautiful, buzz-cutted movie star. It wasn't an alopecia joke any more than the one about the chicken crossing the road is about bird flu."
People are so determined to be offended that they will create malice where none exists. It appears that the internet is one massive outrage machine that is constantly searching for the next scandal to reveal and the next criminal to cancel. Comedy is also a favorite target. However, this is where Maher's point really touches down. It's also quite good. He claimed that before the smack, Will's genuine reaction was to chuckle. The real Will found it funny. The version that came after Jada's frown was the fake, the one that had been rewritten to meet the demands made of him. To put it another way, his desire to blend in obscured his own personality. Is that something you've heard before? Because that's exactly how cancel culture works.
As evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. There. back and to the left, back and to the left, back and to the left.
Ma even went so far as to draw a comparison between it and the current state of comedy clubs, when hecklers sit there dumbfounded until the laughter ends and then yell, "That's not funny." They are actually illustrating the comedian's argument about hypersensitivity as they say it, which is ironic. Let's be truthful. Even though Will Smith might have thought he was protecting his wife and showing the world how fiercely protective he was, it wasn't manhood. It was fear masquerading as courage. It's not a sign of great strength to slap someone on live television. It's about staying true to your feelings, even if they don't fit the popular narrative. And once upon a time, humor was all about authenticity, pushing the boundaries, being honest, and communicating honestly. But jokes are becoming seen as hate crimes by the woke population.
Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform to a different view. And he's the one who's being manly? I've seen the same syndrome happen in comedy clubs. Woke hecklers who literally have to wait for the laughter to die down before they yell, "That's not funny."
That's not funny. Kevin Hart was unable to host the Oscars because of tweets that were 10 years old. Minutes after assaulting someone on stage, Will Smith, on the other hand, was given a standing ovation. Make sense of that. Bill Maher was straightforward. There is truth to the cruelty of cancel culture. Because of someone's offensive comments, comedians have lost entire careers and gigs. Gilbert Gottfried, Roseanne Barr, Kathy Griffin, and so on. Were their jokes inane? It's most likely offensive, yes, but here's the problem. Comedy isn't supposed to be safe. It is intended to push, provoke, and yes, occasionally make people uncomfortable. If you don't like the ticket, don't buy it. You shouldn't stream the special. Avoid going to the performance. That's how simple it is.
This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to idiots. Now, at the Oscars, Chris Rock came out to present a boring award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs doing what we comics call crowd work.
Freedom of expression is not the same as freedom from pain. It suggests that you are free to choose what you wish to accomplish. Rather, we have produced this weird digital inquisition where a crowd decides who is digitally executed and who can speak. One of Mars's most prominent examples was Sarah Silverman. In a blackface sketch she did years ago, she ridiculed racism itself. It wasn't hateful. The satire was intended to draw attention to how absurd racism is. However, the crowd didn't care. They didn't stop to ask her what she really wanted or what she was trying to say. After removing one frame from its context, they came for her career. The irony is in this point, Silverman was speaking out against racism, but the outrage machine turned her into a racist monster. That's the dark humor of cancel culture. For the rabble, meaning is meaningless. They care only about outrage.
Comedians are the ones testing where the line is. We can't always be perfect any more than Tom Brady will never throw an interception. Dave Chappelle lost distribution for his documentary, and Sarah Silverman was fired from a film over an old sketch where she wore blackface to make fun of racism. Roseanne lost the TV show she created with her name on it over tweets that were very offensive, but not at all clear Roseanne knew them to be. She is crazy, and I say that as a friend.
Comic Nimsh Patel was actually pulled off the stage during a show at Columbia University. Why? Because he made a joke about how hard it is to be homosexual and black. Moreover, it was not even an anti-gay joke. It was pro-gay. But the event's organizers decided that he had no authority to say those things. Think about that. A comedian who tries to inject a good message into the postponed act while sharing their beliefs. What does that mean? What is said no longer matters. It is related to control. It is related to the general regulation of humor. And that's frightening because once you start telling people what can and cannot be joked about, you completely destroy humor.
Smith wasn't pulled off stage, but comedian Nimesh Patel was literally pulled off stage during a performance at Columbia for a joke about how hard it is to be gay and black. Not an anti-gay joke, mind you, a pro-gay joke. But one of the event organizers walked on stage and said, "I don't think you're entitled to certain jokes you're making." Well, a sense of entitlement certainly is a big part of the problem here, but not on the part of the comedian.
Bill Maher was spot on when he said it's not the so-called conservative Bible Belt crowd that struggles to take a joke anymore. It's the elite campuses, the prestigious universities filled with Gen Z students, once proud centers of open debate and bold ideas. These schools used to thrive on disagreement. Opposing viewpoints clashed, arguments unfolded, and from that friction came genuine intellectual growth. But now, many of these campuses have turned into echo chambers sealed tight with self-protection. Students aren't being taught how to think anymore. They're being trained how to react. Instead of engaging in honest discussion, they silence what they don't like. Instead of questioning ideas, they label them dangerous. The focus has shifted away from education and landed squarely in the realm of indoctrination. Even comedy, one of the last free spaces for raw truth, isn't safe. College shows now come with rule books. Comedians are asked to pre-submit their jokes and remove anything that could offend someone. That's like asking a chef to drain all the flavor from a meal before serving it. What's left after that? Jokes about airline peanuts and pumpkin spice lattes, and a generation that forgot laughter used to challenge, not comfort.
That's the thing. The people who can't take a joke now aren't old ladies in the Bible Belt. They're Gen Z at elite colleges. Colleges where comedy goes to die. Kids used to go to college and lose their virginity. Now they go to lose their sense of humor.
Hard joke that kids used to go to college.
From Will Smith's slap to Sarah Silverman's cancellation, from Nimesh Patel's banned campus set to colleges muzzling comedians altogether, it's all part of the same pattern. Courage has been swapped for fear. Conversation has been replaced with censorship. And honestly, aren't we all exhausted by it? Aren't we tired of tiptoeing through every sentence, worried that one wrong word could spark an outrage storm? That's where we are now, a culture so anxious about being offended that people would rather stay silent than risk speaking their minds. But silencing isn't the solution. The answer to uncomfortable jokes isn't to ban the comedian, it's to let the moment play out, let the audience react, let the conversation happen. Comedy at its heart is a marketplace of ideas. The great jokes thrive, the weak ones fade, and everyone learns something in the process. When we start banning jokes, though, we lose more than laughter. We chip away at the foundation of free thought itself. You don't have to like Bill Maher. You don't even have to agree with him, but you can't deny his consistency. He defends free speech with conviction, no matter who it offends. And that should matter to everyone, no matter what side of politics they're on. Because once you start limiting speech, even the kind you dislike, you set the stage for your own voice to be silenced next. Comedy isn't meant to always be comfortable. It's meant to make you laugh, squirm, think, and sometimes even question your own views. That's where its strength lies. That's its purpose. Take that away, and we don't just lose humor, we lose resilience. The world becomes a little more fragile and a lot less alive.
Vice recently interviewed college bookers who revealed that before a comedian even takes the stage, they're asked to edit out anything from their act that may cause offense, leaving a world where more and more topics are off limits, and soon there'll be nothing left to joke about except airline food and Starbucks getting your name wrong. Is also a staple of comedy, and in fact, an example of insulting someone's looks was on display that night when Regina Hall said, "We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. It's been really hard on people." And Amy Schumer said, "Yeah, just look at Timothy Chalamet," and they cut to J.K. Simmons. Who made a face a lot like the one Jada would make later on. But that's where it ended. It's called being a good sport, especially when you're a rich celebrity. Let the common people take the piss out of you for one stinking minute.
Maybe it's time to stop treating every joke like it's a hate crime. Maybe we should stop confusing being offended with being harmed. Maybe, just maybe, we all need to take a breath and remember how to laugh again. If Will Smith can go from laughing to slapping in under 10 seconds, what hope do the rest of us have if we keep letting outrage lead the way? The problem isn't comedy, the problem is fear. Until we face that, we'll keep striking down anyone who makes us uncomfortable, pretending it's in the name of progress. So maybe that infamous slap wasn't just a one-time meltdown. Maybe it symbolized something much bigger about who we've become: impulsive, dramatic, and terrified of judgment. Freedom of expression has never been neat or easy. It's often clumsy, awkward, and sometimes even offensive, but that's exactly what makes it real. That's where its power comes from. And if we can't handle a few rough jokes here and there, maybe the issue isn't with the comedians at all. Maybe it's with us. Thanks for tuning in. If you made it this far, hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Has cancel culture gone too far, or has comedy lost its edge? Let us know what you think.